So I just finished watching Spider-Man Brand New Day, and here's my spoiler-free review. This film takes place 4 years after the events of No Way Home, and follows Peter, who is now alone after allowing Doctor Strange to cast a spell that makes everyone forget who Peter Parker is. And now, he must take on a new major threat that has just arisen. I'm just going to start this review off by saying that this is not only the best Tom Holland Spider-Man film, but it's also the best live-action Spider-Man film since Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 2 all the way back in 2004. And with Thunderbolts, Fantastic Four, and Spider-Man Brand New Day, I think it's safe to say that the MCU is back. And if you're like me, and if you became cynical with all the post-Endgame content of the MCU, I think it's well about time to start regaining faith. Heck, I don't think the MCU films have had 3 consecutive home runs that were as good as Thunderbolts, Fantastic Four, and Brand New Day. Like, the closest they've ever gotten previously was Thor Ragnarok, Black Panther, and Infinity War. I mean, I obviously love them 3, and Infinity War remains my personal favorite MCU film, but what holds those 3 films back as being the best consecutive 3-film run was Black Panther's goofy CGI final battle, which I personally wasn't a big fan of. I like John Watts as the director for the home Tom Holland Spider-Man trilogy, but Destin Daniel Cretton is on a whole nother level. Now, in case you didn't know, Destin Daniel Cretton has previously directed Shang-Chi, as well as an executive producer for the new MCU show Wonder Man. And even though Wonder Man was renewed for a second season in March, it was unfortunately just announced like yesterday that it's cancelled. But hey, that may be seen as a blessing in disguise, because as proven in this film, Destin Daniel Cretton knows exactly how to make amazing MCU films, and maybe Wonder Man being cancelled, maybe because Marvel Studios wants Destin Daniel Cretton to make other MCU Tom Holland Spider-Man films, or even other MCU films in general, because he knows exactly how to knock it out of the park. This film feels like a comic book come to life, with so many scenes recreating famous and iconic comic panels, and even pausing during montages to showcase some striking comic book imagery. Like, in case you didn't know, this frame is trying to recreate the cover of the very first Spider-Man issue, and here is the cover that is trying to recreate. If you can tell just from watching a comic book movie that the director is a massive fan of the comic book character, then that is an extremely good sign. The film also overtly takes a lot of inspiration from the PlayStation Insomniac Spider-Man video games, with many of the web-swinging and combat sequences, particularly the way they are filmed, feeling like they were lifted straight from those games. Just like in Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 2, this film takes its time to show off Peter Parker's vulnerability, as well as him struggling in everyday life, which makes you all the more care for him, and increases the stakes for action sequences whenever they do come. I also love how this film balances out its emotional moments with some genuinely hilarious ones, without coming off across as eternally inconsistent. We're looking at you, Thor Love and Thunder. This is easily the most mature Tom Holland Spider-Man film. Peter Parker is lonely and not in high school anymore, and the tone, as well as Michael Giacchino's score, feels much more mature too, without losing the light-hearted elements that make a Spider-Man film. From the opening scene, this film has a non-stop super fast pacing that never lets up. Just like the Superman movie from last year, this film feels like it's set in a populated universe featuring various other Marvel superheroes and characters, such as the Punisher and the Hulk. But rather than letting all these other characters overshadow Spider-Man, they used to further tell Peter Parker's story, while still ensuring that it remains a Spider-Man film, just like how the Superman movie from last year remained a Superman film, even though there were a lot of other superheroes and characters. Now, I was very skeptical about this film having so many characters, villains, and plot lines, especially with that being a major problem for Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 3, as well as The Amazing Spider-Man 2. But after seeing this film, I can say with high fidelity that Destin Daniel Cretton has completely outsmarted me. He managed to contain all these various characters and storylines in a cohesive, coherent, and succinct manner, without ever coming off across as overstuffed or convoluted or anything. Something that he just absolutely loved directors doing is making me skeptical about a certain creative choice or creative decision for the movie or even TV show, and then just completely outsmarting me and proving me wrong and showing that their creative decision does indeed work for the film or show. Speaking of skepticism, I also had very mixed feelings about Ned and MJ being brought back, especially with what happened at the end of No Way Home. But once again, I was proven wrong. Rather than undoing that ending, this film handles them very well, and I honestly can't imagine the film without them. I also love the dynamic between Spider-Man and the Punisher, and their conflicting philosophies, especially regarding the no-kill rule. Now, I saw a lot of people online being very skeptical about the Punisher showing up in a PG-13 film, but here's what I made of it. Jon Bernthal is extremely sensitive and protective for the Punisher character, that he even refused to show up in the pre-creative overhaul Daredevil Born Again because it was so against his character. So the fact that he didn't say no to Brand New Day implies that the film somehow found a way to make the Punisher work within a PG-13 setting, and after seeing the film, I can confirm it. He remains the violent and rough Punisher that we all know him to be, but he primarily enacts that violence on tanks and superpowered characters rather than just ordinary humans. Also, Spider-Man webs his mouth before he can drop an F-bomb. I also really appreciated how Destin Daniel Cretton not only prioritized using practical effects over VFX, but he got Jackie Chan and his stunt team to help oversee the action sequences and stunts in this film. So, as you would expect from this, the action scenes were choreographed remarkably. And while I won't spoil who she plays, Sadie Sink was amazing in this film. Overall, I give Brand New Day a 10 out of 10, and definitely a must watch in cinemas, especially if you love Spider-Man as much as I do.